This is an example of a patient we are calling Steve and how we scored his mental health journey using the Global Assessment of Functioning scale. Norfolk and Suffolk NHS Foundation Trust first encountered Steve over 10 years ago. This patient presented with diagnosed bipolar disorder along with alcohol and occasional drug misuse. This patient lives alone and is an educated and talented man. We assessed Steve using the Global Assessment of Functioning, or GAF, to establish a clear path to recovery and to assess how Steve was managing on his mental health journey. Working closely with him, the GAF scores helped us and Steve to visually determine how his treatment was progressing. Initially, Steve was assessed on 3 key areas: occupational, social, symptomatic. At the start of his journey, Steve's scores were occupational. For example, could he do activities such as cooking, education, work, and generally looking after himself, for instance? Steve initially scored 20 to 21 on the GAF scale, meaning he was having trouble with day-to-day activities, looking after himself, and was dysfunctional and potentially dangerous in some situations. Steve was unable to work consistently due to his symptoms. Social. How was Steve coping in social situations? How was he interacting with other people? How were his relationships with family and friends? Steve scored 31 to 40. He was found to be neglecting himself, drinking more, and his home life was chaotic and untidy. His personal relationships were also suffering, as was his ability to manage his finances. Symptoms. For example, what symptoms was Steve displaying? Steve scored 20 to 21 on the GAF scale in this area and was presenting with manic excitement and could be a danger to himself and others. His behaviour was erratic and irritable, and he had grandiose feelings and thoughts. Steve began treatment with the mental health team, who worked closely with him to monitor and treat his symptoms. And he had input into his care at all stages of his mental health journey. Outcome. Steve has been making steady progress through interventions and treatments. And after a period of time, we scored Steve again on the GAF scale. His scores now were occupational 55, social 65, symptoms 65. As you can see, his scores had significantly improved from first evaluation and scoring. We saw improvements in his ability to function socially and occupationally, with Steve doing some initial work, engaging in community and supported activity, and rekindling relationships with his close family members. The GAF scale enables us to continue to assess Steve's symptoms and gives him a positive outcome to aim for in his journey going forward.